Hi everyone, my name is Imry Halevi. I'm an assistant athletic director at Harvard University in charge of multimedia and production. And my topic for today is our launch of the Ivy League on ESPN Plus, how we use graphics for ESPN Plus, and how we use graphics with our RSN, which is NESN, New England Sports Network. There are no Yetis playing air guitars, no Hornets flying, there's no AR, nothing in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, there are very few drones. We'll see how it goes. I'm partially regretting the examples I have later because they're not nearly as impressive as anything else we've seen today, but we'll see how it goes. So Harvard is part of the Ivy League, one of 8 schools that up to 2013, broadcast and streamed games randomly to different platforms. And in 2013, the 8 Ivy League schools joined together and decided to form what was then called the Ivy League Digital Network, a way for to have a central location where all schools can stream all live sporting events to one location. All fans can see games in one location. We would standardize our graphics, standardize our videos, standardize our look and feel, make sure that it's a better platform and better experience for everyone. So that was 6 years ago. The video on the screenshot on the left is the graphics we used the first couple of years. Graphic on the right is what we used more recent 2 years. And each school used the same graphics package. We hired a guy out of California to design the graphics package. It was a flat graphics package for the most part. It was PSDs and PNGs running off NewTek, Live Text, and Blackmagic ATEM switchers and stuff like that. Very, very simple things. We wanted to make sure it was compatible with all the platforms all the different schools were running. We wanted to make sure it was simple for use. And we also used it beyond just the Ivy League network. We also used it for our other broadcasts that went to RSNs. We partnered Harvard with the NESN, but we have some schools partnering with NBC Sports Philly and with SNY. We had games on ESPN3, so we wanted to make sure that it was a simple enough graphics package that any game we produced could appear on any one of those platforms and wouldn't really be an issue. Then in 2008, we announced that we were joining ESPN Plus, which is ESPN's new direct-to-consumer streaming platform. And that meant that ESPN wanted us to start using the ESPN Graphics package, which was great. You know, instead of a guy out of California, we had a whole team in Charlotte designing graphics for us and hundreds of other schools and organizations. It meant a lot more of a robust graphics package with transitions and animations and lots of insert graphics, and lots was going on there. But it also meant several other things. It meant that our RSNs didn't want the ESPN graphics package on their air. You know, a generic graphics package doesn't say anything is fine, but they don't want ESPN on their air. Obviously, the other way doesn't work either. ESPN didn't want NESN graphics on their air or SNY graphics on their air. We also had to think about ESPN graphics beyond football and men's basketball, because at Harvard, we have 42 Division I teams. The Ivy League as a whole supports 34 different sports, and so beyond football and basketball, there's fencing and track and field and water polo and rowing and swimming and diving and women's rugby, and there's so many other things, and so that's something we had to consider as we made this transition. There we go. So on the ESPN side, our challenge again was trying to figure out how we can produce a lot of content with lots of different sports, but also using a lot of different graphics platforms. ESPN historically has supported Viz and Ross Expression, which is what they've pushed us to use, but we didn't have either. And we also had such a big amount of games. We often had 4, 5, 6, 8 games at once that it wasn't practical for us to get 8 Viz systems or 8 expressions. We needed to make sure that whatever graphics you were using, they could use with our existing graphic systems, and also could transition between the different systems. And we also, as I mentioned, needed the flexibility to use different sports. And we wanted to make sure it was something that was very, very simple. Because we have so many different sports and so many games, Harvard produces about 300 broadcasts a year. The Ivy League as a whole, over 1,100. And most of the people who operate our graphic systems are students, and they're not students who are necessarily studying this. Harvard, for example, doesn't have a broadcasting program or a journalism school. Harvard students, if they have free time, go start a business or invest in the stock market. I didn't go to Harvard. I'm So we got students from other schools, but these are students who needed to learn our system very, very quickly. And we needed to make sure that the graphics package, whatever graphics package we used and however we implemented it, was very quick to learn, while still maintaining the robustness. So everything still needed to look like an ESPN broadcast or a NESN broadcast. It couldn't look like a cheap knockoff, which, if you look at some older ESPN broadcasts done by some colleges, you notice that it's meant to look like ESPN, but it's not quite there, and we really didn't want to do that. On the NESN side, so NESN, New England Sports Network, they produced Red Sox, Bruins broadcasts, and they were, while we were signing the contract with ESPN, they were also ramping up their program to work with colleges in the New England area. So in addition to us, they work with Boston University and the University of New Hampshire and Northeastern University and many others in the area, and they wanted to create a standardized graphics package for all these school-produced broadcasts on NESN that would look like a NESN broadcast, that would look like a Bruins broadcast or a Red Sox broadcast, but wouldn't have the NESN logo anywhere, because then ESPN would say we couldn't use it because all NESN games were also simulcast on ESPN Plus. And you notice that the ESPN package, people notice, but the ESPN package doesn't say ESPN anywhere besides the ESPN bug in the corner. And NESN had the same goal, make sure it looks like NESN, but doesn't say NESN anywhere. And same thing, be able to use the same graphic systems that we already had. There you go. So that's where AJT comes in. AJT is a graphics company and a graphic system that we purchased during our last year of the Ivy League Network contract, or Ivy League Network existence. It allows us to integrate data into our graphics, allows us to do transitions, allows us to do animations, very robust system. And one of the main pluses for us is it already included some of the ESPN graphics package. And so we could use our existing system, not invest in a ROS or a Viz, and be able to have broadcasts that look like ESPN wanted them to look like. And so we spent the time working with AJT to test out existing ESPN graphics and build any additional ones. ESPN completely redesigned the football graphics package in the middle of the college football season this year, which was fun. And the basketball graphics package is relatively new. It's a couple of years old. So we had a lot of work to do there. And then the NESN graphics package was brand new. And we needed to work with AJT to make sure that was fully functional and it did everything we needed to do. We, as a league, signed a deal with AJT so that each league school had one AJT system, which was great. And we use it for all our premier productions. But still, we had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 broadcasts going on at once. And so we worked with AJT to get flattened versions of all the graphics, the ESPN graphics and the NESN graphics, so that we can build them into our other systems. If we had a tennis broadcast where we have 10 or 12 or 6, depending on the school, tennis courts going on at the same time, and it's a very, very small production. It's one camera per tennis court with an effects mic. That's it. We wanted to make sure we still had the ESPN graphics on those tennis courts so people could watch them. There's no one there operating the graphics. There's no one there doing anything. And so we wanted to make sure we had graphics that could fit the existing tennis system or squash system or rowing system, and would have automatic data feeding into it, but still look like it's supposed to look like. This is what our AJT system looks like. There are a couple of screenshots here. This is scorebug playout interface, so we could change any data on our scorebug, clock, score, timeouts, bonus, possession, etc. Though everything for us is automated, it all draws data from our scoreboards. The next screen is insert graphics, so a list of ESPN insert graphics that we were working with. I remember the first time I saw this at NAB many years ago, and the person from AJT who was demoing it was quickly clicking on everything and making everything look great, and I was terrified, and I thought, how could I possibly teach a student how to do this? Turns out it's not that difficult, and we were able to do it, and we really enjoyed using that system because it was easy to use, it was automated, it had all the graphics we needed. Now after a couple of years of using it, I can tell if an ESPN broadcast is on a Viz or a ROS or an AJT, but the most common fan doesn't know and definitely doesn't care. And so that's been great for us. I have 2 quick examples of show opens. Again, no flying hornets. This is very, very simple, and this is how we get our students who have a couple of days of experience to do a show open that looks like a NESN broadcast or an ESPN broadcast that doesn't include too many elements, but is good enough to get on the air. So let's run the NESN one, I guess. So this is a NESN open that NESN built and sent for us.
2 weeks ago, Ivy League play started with a stunner as the team picked to finish last in the preseason blew out the conference favorite. Today, Harvard looks to avenge that loss in a rematch as the Crimson host Dartmouth. Hi, everyone. Welcome inside Leviti's Pavilion alongside Adam Giardino and our sideline reporter Tim Culverhouse. I'm Alex Vespoli. Well, for Dartmouth, 2 weeks ago, they started off the season with an 18-point win over Harvard.
And then the next one is very similar, but with ESPN. And one of our main challenges, which we're able to do easily with AJT, is that on a Friday night, we could have a basketball game on NESN, and on a Saturday night, a basketball game on ESPN. And we would have to spend that time between Friday and Saturday transitioning everything, changing all our graphics, all the insert graphics, all the score bugs, all the bumps and transitions and front ends and everything, so that from the same control room, we would produce two completely different broadcasts. But still do it quickly and still have the same students run the system. So you can go ahead and roll that.
From Leviti's Pavilion on the campus of Harvard University, this is the Ivy League on ESPN. Tonight, the Columbia Lions in town to take on the Harvard Crimson. Thanks so much for being with us, along with Scott Sudikoff. I'm Eric Galanti. Well, these two teams split last year's series, and the three-point shot was the defining factor in both of those games. Columbia has consistently led the Ivy League in three-point shooting, but they've struggled this year, and the goal is to try to turn that around, led by Gabe Stefanini.
Yeah, Gabe Stefanini, a player that's had to step up this season after the injury at the end of the season for Mike Smith. Now, Stefanini struggled initially, but as of late, especially in Ivy League play, he's averaging close to 18 over 8.
So, see, very, very different look and feel. Obviously, we have a drone, so the drone did come into effect. But one looks like an ESPN production, one looks like a NESN production, both using the AJT system, both using all our existing equipment, but different front ends, different score bug. Well, didn't see the score bug, but there's a different score bug, different inserts, different title cards, different everything. So it's been a very long year of learning all the different graphics packages and testing everything and fixing as we go along, working with AJT to make sure all the little bugs and kinks are out as we start different seasons. Lacrosse season started a couple of weeks ago for us. Baseball season for us starts in a couple of weeks. And so it's been an interesting year, but I think a successful year. We've been able to make that change and make sure that our broadcasts look like what they should look like, without spending too much money and without investing too much in training, just using our existing crew. That's it. Any questions? I'm very patient. I'll stand here forever. Yes?
The ESPN graphics, they were moving. Was that a movie file that came in and then you just put that up on the screen? Or?
So the ESPN title card, there we go. So this is the title card, and that's an insert graphics from within the AJT system. There we go. So it says title card here on the left, and AJT built this within what they call Camino, which is their engine in the back that allows you to have transitions, animations, and have the graphics come in and transition, and the little trumpets, horns, whatever it is, on the sides, make their little animation. That's all rendered live as it's going on. That's a graphic. The front end, so we saw a Columbia player to watch we were doing, that was pre-built by ESPN, and that was just a video we were playing off tape as a lead-in. Yes? Sure. So the question was about the automated broadcasts. It varies greatly, but I can give the example of tennis and squash. And so many of the Ivy League schools have tennis and squash teams, and they stream tennis and squash. Typically, there are 6 to 12 courts per. They all play at the same time. And regulars, there are a lot of them. And so we don't do much. It's not a multi-camera shoot. We typically set up or permanently set up one camera per court with an effects mic for squashing up in the middle of the court, and for tennis it's a shotgun mic on one end. We have a rack for each location. The rack has a ATEM Blackmagic design ATEM switcher per court The ATEM switcher gets the video, gets the audio, has like the ESPN Plus bug that it can bring in, and combines everything, spits out HDMI and SDI that we can take to an encoder and RTMP stream out to ESPN. The data was a little bit more complicated, so what we use is Intel compute sticks. They're little computers that are just USB flash drives that have an HDMI port instead of USB. So we plug them into the back of the ATEM, and it provides a Windows 10 computer as an HDMI source to the ATEM. That loads up a web page that has the ESPN graphics, and the web page has the coding that grabs the data from the tennis or squash scoring system and populates it. I don't have an example here, but it looks, again, it's very simple. No one's switching cameras or anything, but if you look at a tennis match, it looks exactly like an ESPN tennis match. It has, team name, participant name, it has score per set and everything. It looks good. And it's fully automated because there's a lot of work that was done in the back, and it's all web-based so that it refreshes automatically. Other questions? No? Okay. Thank you.